Hello and welcome back to my channel, Bookish Lady Night, where we get a look behind the book. Today, I am joined by the phenomenal audiobook narrator, Victoria Connolly, who has brought to life some of my favorites, like Bourbon and Proof by Victoria Wilder, Bonus Daddy, and Asking for Trouble by Daphne Elliott, and The Fundamentals of Being a Good Girl, and my all-time comfort favorite read, The Fake Out by Jenny Barra. Her narration adds depth, personality, and emotion to every story that she brings to life. And today we're going to talk about her journey behind the mic and what brings these amazing stories for us to enjoy. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. Like I said, those are some of my favorite books, and I'm like thrilled that you narrate
When you said the
them.
comfort listen that you had, I didn't know what you were going to say, but I love the fake out.
Yes. Isn't it so good? It's so good.
That was from, I think, last year. So I need to go back and listen to it. But I do remember that he was a virgin and that is
Yeah.
a great trope.
Yes. And I love Jenny Barra. She does such an amazing job at like bringing emotion and funny moments, but like weaving them all together. And like you leave the book, you feel like lighter and happier. And I just love
That
that.
too. Oh, that's a good one to have as a favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. She's really good. Actually, that whole series I love. So I got to interview her and I really got to talk to her about, her journey. And I think that book really highlights a lot of things. And I love that you brought those characters to life because it really was a really good read.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I love that.
So what got you into narrating audio?
What got me into narrating audiobooks? Well, I started listening before you hit record. We were talking about the very privileged information that is the book we read, right? Like, anyway, I was reading a lot of smut books in 2020 for the first time ever. So I was home during the pandemic. My retail store was closed that I was managing at the time. And I had an audiobook in my ear, like all of 2020. And that's when I listened to like a lot of Romanticy, Priest by Sierra Simone, I think came out that year, I want to say. So those were some performances that just hooked me, especially from Blood and Ash, narrated by Stina Nielsen. Like
Yes.
such a great series, but also just her narration got me. And also her man voice, her, voicing Castile. I was like, there was something about that voice. There was something about that character that she brought to life. And I thought, how cool is it that I'm so impressed by this? And I wonder if I could make someone else feel the way that I'm feeling when I'm listening to Castile. Yeah. So that was very inspiring for me. I was a theater kid growing up and I used to sing like worship songs at church and in youth groups. I was behind the mic at some point in my life.
Mhm.
Working retail and sales always felt like a little bit of a performance too. You have to make quick connections with people. You have to get shut down and rejected all the time. So it helps your performance, it helps your like build up that muscle as a performer, just, kind of putting your stuff out there and then having people pick it up or absolutely not. So when I did go back to work though, when the pandemic ended and I still had an earbud in at work, I would hide it under my hair. And then if a customer would come in, I'd just, pause. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky enough to be able to quit that job, be home with my kids. But I say I was home with my kids, but I really just launched straight into narrating audiobooks. And I did that through building a portfolio online on a website called ACX that a lot of narrators start on, especially because I didn't know a single soul who narrated audiobooks. I'd never met an author. I'd never met a narrator. So, yeah, I kind of just dove into the world and found everything I could find on the internet. And thankfully, there's a lot of narrators who share their knowledge and skills. And so that was about 4 years ago that I just like went for it. And
Mhm.
yeah, here we are now.
Do you feel like it was really a big shift to dive in and start? Were you nervous, or did it kind of just naturally, once you started, it was there?
It felt For me, it felt low stakes to start, but I guess kind of that's how I am about a lot of things in my life. I'm like, I can just try this, and if I fail, I fail. But whatever, I'm enjoying reading out loud, pressing record, hearing my voice back. I did not sound good in the first year. I mean, good is relative, but it was something I had to work at. It was just like picking up an instrument, and you don't just become a touring musician like you're on your first go. That's how I compare like audiobook narration. It's like learning an instrument essentially. So I did meet with coaches, and I still do sometimes, but mostly in that first year or two, I was just really committed to getting better all the time because where my voice was placed, the cadence, the pacing, developing different voices, and honestly just like gaining confidence as a narrator and as a reader and storyteller. So that did take time. It felt low stakes because I was working on ACX for royalty share projects for really any indie author who posted their book and hired me. So they thought I was good enough, and that was enough for me. Yeah.
That's really cool. So, do you remember the exact moment when you realized that this could end up being like a career for you, not just something that you were trying, or a hobby, so to speak, or something you're just testing the waters with?
That's a good question. It probably happened in like a couple years ago. I was booked out for like 9 months. I had projects. And I think once that happened, I was like, wow, okay, it's happening. But it snowballed. It was a slow process. It felt like a slow process to get there. So I can't say that there was necessarily one moment, but just kind of that reality of I'm actually overwhelmed with projects. And now, yeah, now I have to be more strategic about the type of projects I go after. So anyway, or about saying yes to the ones that are offered to me. So that's been an interesting journey too, because I love to do romance, but I'm constantly looking for like the best fit romance book for my voice. Like, and that's just subjective to every narrator, what the best fit is for them. But yeah, that was when I thought, okay, this is happening. But I still essentially work part-time. I have two kids that I pick up from school every day. And, I am a full-time parent, and I'm taking care of my house and two cats and a dog and my friends and family and social life. So I it is a part-time. It feels like I'm doing it full-time, but it is part-time technically.
Yeah. So, what does the typical recording session look like for
Mhm.
you?
So usually looks like I'm taking my kids to school in the morning and then getting home and having another cup of coffee and getting into my booth. I also work with a body double. So like I have pretty bad ADHD. So even when I really want to do something, I can't do it. And audiobook narration was such a great like hyperfixation for me for for a good year and a half when I was new at it because everything felt like an interesting challenge or a puzzle. And then when I was looking down the barrel of having months and months booked up of projects, for some people that's exciting, like that's consistency. That's exciting. That's what you should want. But I've had to learn that that workflow is not right for me. I cannot be booked a year in advance, or I don't know. It just doesn't work for the ADHD brain. That is like, even though I love these books and I love the work I'm doing, don't get me wrong. I hope I don't sound like I'm ungrateful, but okay. So that's just something to think about.
Need balance.
Yeah, there's a balance to it. And I need to have windows. And this work takes a lot out of me. Anyway, for the ADHD purposes, I have a body double who just works with me part time, but she gets on the phone with me and helps me just sit down in my chair and read, which is hard. Like, it's hard. I know readers, you want to read that book sometimes too, but it's like there's a lot of traffic. So, quieting that traffic has really helped with having a body double. Also have audiobook narrator groups, like Discord groups that we sit in and read together. And that's really cool. So yeah, so I'll record for a few hours a day. Like maybe if it's a good day, I'll get 3 hours of recording in done. Like that would be a good day. 3 or 4 hours would be an amazing day. And then every week's a little bit different. Like if I, and see, this is the exciting part. I'll get an email for an audition. I'm like, ooh, sparkly new project here. Or I'll have to do corrections from a previous book, you know, audiobook edits, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the typical day though, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recording files,
It's
uploading
really fun.
files, trying not like finding that perfect balance, like you said. It's really hard. I still
Yeah.
don't know if I've quite done it.
So with the influx of doing, Duel was it's still really
Yeah.
popular. Duel is still really popular. Duet
Right.
is like an influx. Is that difficult? Is that exciting? Like how does that play into your daily, audio?
So the variety is always exciting, but it does make me sad that I can't do my man voice, like my Castile inspired, you know. Sometimes I get sad about that because I'm like, just give it to me. Come on. Give me the guy's lines. Just give it. But I like to work with other my co-narrators and like I know that it's given the people what they want. And sometimes that's Sean Masters. So like let's just let him have it. So yeah. So I don't mind it.
Yeah. Is it more work to like record it? Is it more work for you to record it versus doing, all one chapter, doing all the voices versus having to like chop it up to do those in between lines?
I don't know. It feels kind of the same to me because there will be a whole chapter that comes up and it's just my lines, right? So I guess maybe that can slow me down a little bit because I'll kind of have to make sure I'm getting the context right of what these lines of dialogue are when it's my turn. But I've gotten pretty good at like playing that male voice in my head. Like I still read the line of dialogue before I respond to it because I think that's where duet can get a little tricky when the performance isn't quite matched up in terms of volume or cadence or just that respond time. So I do try. I really do try to hear my co-narrator in my head and then respond to them. There's also this thing about duet that I do where I really try to give my lines like a soft launch because when I've
Mhm.
listened to duet before and even if it's well edited and well performed, when a new voice cuts in, it can just even if you're enjoying it, it can be like jarring. I don't know. So I keep that in mind when I'm narrating and I try to like softly introduce my line. I don't know. I try to like make it a
Yeah.
softer transition for the ear. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, like a fade in, like fading it
Yeah.
in kind of, so it's not so like, "Oh, there's a new person talking."
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'll try to fade in. And I've learned this from okay, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I have been able to do a few duet recordings live. I've done 3 or 4 now, I think. So out of 100 books that I've done, only 3 or 4 have been live duet recordings. So I'm on a Zoom call with my co-narrator and we're pinging back and forth. That is fun. Yeah. That's like those the moments where you're like, "Okay, I'm acting." Sorry, that's my dog. I'm acting right now. Aren't you proud of me? I think because I snapped, you gotta.
He's so pretty.
Yeah, so that's really fun. And then the performance is just elevated because of that, because it's that back and forth. Now I lost my train of thought of what I was gonna say with that.
Doing it
Yeah.
live, you like the
It live. So, and recently I got to record a little bit live with Shane East, who's an incredible audiobook narrator. And he does this thing when he delivers his dialogue that I learned from, and this was just in January. He does a breath before his dialogue a lot of times. I've noticed this. It'll be like if the line is like, light the candle, he'll be like, light the candle. It'll kind of like a little breath onto it, or like or just a little. Now you'll notice it. But I
Yeah.
heard that and I thought, okay, what a great way to differentiate the narrative, like narration from the dialogue itself. So I'm going to I've been trying that now because I think that's another way to kind of like soft launch that new voice, just kind of pivot instead of just, that abrupt dialogue. So
Yeah. Yeah, I wanna do that now. I wanna see. I have some of his books that he's narrated. I'll have
I'm
to
a
go back
big
and listen.
fan. It was a pretty cool. That was my first book with him, and to be live was pretty cool. A little. I mean, he's not intimidating, but I wasn't like he's fine. I
You were
was nervous.
intimidated.
Nothing he did, just all on my own. I did it. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. But I love to nerd out about those little details about audiobook narration too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love the well, that's why I originally launched this whole channel. One, because I have a small business and I'm it. There's no one but me. I do everything from start to finish. And so for me, most of my business is word of mouth, people finding me and then recommending me. And I feel like it's the same way for authors. So I started out for indie authors was because they're wearing all the hats, they're
Yes.
doing all the things. So I wanted to show behind the scenes of bringing a book to life that we get to enjoy. And then as I've progressed with that, I was thinking, well, what about the narrators? Like they are a component in this cog. And so I was like, I want to talk to some narrators and see how they go about bringing it to
That's cool.
life.
And you've talked to a lot of narrators now. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
like to talk.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, I love chatting with you guys. I hope one day I can interview Shane. That would be cool. But I really find, and even each of you with doing the same job, like with authors, like writing romantasy or writing fantasy or writing just romance. It's like they're all in the same genre, but they all had a different walk to get there, and they all approach it a little
There is
differently.
no one way. There is no one way. That is what's so hard about like giving advice. What's so hard about giving advice? So I have thought about offering some audiobook narration coaching now. And because I know that I could help a beginner, but again, even what worked for me might not work for someone else because I was also asked recently, like, how did things take, you know, some audiobook narrator friends were like, how did things take off so quickly for you? Like, it seemed like it took off quickly. But I think it seems that way because I like utilize my social media as a tool to make it look that way. Just saying.
Hmm.
Like, if you just believe that things are taking off and you post as if things are taking off, what do you know? They start taking off. Just saying. It's like easy to manifest on Instagram. Just saying. But okay, so one of my best and favorite authors found me on Instagram, Hannah Bonham Young. So she found me on Instagram. She was like, "Hey, have you worked for Tantor Audio before?" And I hadn't. I had only worked for one other production company besides like indie authors on ACX. So I was like, no, but absolutely just ask, just say my name and they'll get me on. And they did. So she got me on with Tantor. And then a year later, she's traditionally published. And she's like, can you narrate my next book with Penguin Random House? And in between all that time, I'd worked for a lot of other production companies. I've been still doing my thing. So she brought me with her there. And so I've been able to do indie projects for authors. And then I've been able to follow their journey of success. And that feels like a quick trajectory for me because it's like all of a sudden, you know, I'm having doors open for me from my authors that I couldn't
Hmm.
open no matter how many emails I sent. It was until
Yes.
until they said, "Hey, I want Victoria," that I get the gig. So and then I'm in with like Harper Audio or Macmillan or, bigger production companies and publishers, which is so cool. But also then they share my name to their indie authors in the group chat. So it's like that really worked for me, right? Like having this community, like you just said, word of mouth, but not every narrator has that journey at all. Some are, we're also book people. So sometimes a little bit intimidated by either social media or the networking aspect that seemed critical for my career, but maybe for someone else's career, it's not as critical. But for me, I wouldn't be here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, networking can sound like a dirty word to some people, but it's really just connecting with who resonates with you. That's me what networking
Exactly.
is. Like,
Yeah.
if they fit the vibe check is there and you're like friends. That that's your network.
Yes.
When you've done it.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So yeah. And then they get you in.
Yeah. I know how you feel with that. It's just one little spark and it gets you
Yeah.
going.
And I think that's what's exciting and kind of addictive for me with narrating in a good way because I've I've developed friendships with authors like I keep narrating for them, but then also there's these new opportunities that come about in ways that you could not plan for.
Yes, exactly. So, if you were to think back on the very first audiobook that you narrated or the first few, was it exciting? Was it terrifying? Like, what were kind of the vibes that you had when you were recording that?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was actually my first audiobook was a really good experience because it was the author was very patient with me and very communicative. And it was a reverse harem, like alien romance.
Ooh.
I had already read so many reverse harem books, like audiobooks. So I was like, yes, I was excited. And
Yeah.
and I had fun like having four different male voices to get down, plus the villain. So that's like five, and then all the side characters. I remember having a lot of fun. And there was some like alien elf lord. They were like elves, but aliens, and then the humans had mutant powers. It was the whole thing. Again, privileged information. You probably don't have to dig that deep to find the book, but it was just kind of a wild book. But she was great. She was patient with me. She proofed the whole book. So it was kind of since I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know that it would be on me to proof the audio. But sometimes you create a partnership with an author and you're both trying to cut costs and they will proof their own audiobook for you, uh, especially for a royalty share agreement. Anyway, so yeah, I remember being excited and just kind of thinking like, okay, like I did that. I had, because that's really what I wanted to do. I had listened to so many romance books and I just wanted to narrate a romance book. So for my first one to be an alien reverse harem, I was like, this is exactly, I am right where I want to be already. And I just started. This is great. Yeah.
So when you are doing that, because you said there's like 5, 6 voices, maybe more, how do you go about recalling the right tone and sound to bring that character each time you had to say a line from their point of
Yeah.
view?
They're all a little bit different, but I will do sometimes like a little physicality. So, like I can't remember how this came about, but I realized I've heard for some male voices, they have like wider chests. And so there's more like resonance in their chest. So for one character that was like huge and burly, I like started putting, every time I had to voice him, I like put my fists in my armpits to like make space for like a big, deep voice. So like that was one thing. Sometimes I think about the texture of someone's voice. Like someone may have a smoother voice or they have like like gravelly to it or a more nasally voice or a higher pitched voice. And so sometimes I'll combine those traits. Like this person's nasally and soft. And that's literally it's just like a starting place for me to find maybe it maybe it's physical, maybe it's like the texture or the placement. And I'll just keep creating combinations of those things until I find something that feels right for the character. And then I'll layer on their specific personality traits. I did an acting for audio class earlier this year, or was it last year? Anyway, I did an acting for audio class. One of the things actors utilize is like animals for characterization. So if you think of the animated movie Zootopia and all the different animal characters and the voices of that movie, I mean, there's dozens, right? So how the voices sound based on the animals themselves. That's such a great study Like, think of the sloth, the sloth at the DMV, the
Yes.
fox or the quick rabbit or the tiny little, and then we also love the, like, Godfather little mole character because it's such a great juxtaposition. But there's a lot of fun with voices, and so actors, like in movies, will utilize animals or animal work to inform making decisions about people. So one of my favorite things I heard recently, because my kids are 11 and 8, and I'm watching a lot of old like 90s and early 2000s movies with them. So we watched an Ace Ventura movie with Jim Carrey. And if you can think about, I'm not going to do an impression right now, don't worry. But if you can think about the way he moves and swings his head and walk, he studied a pigeon for that character,
I didn't know that. That's so funny now that you said that.
right?
Right. Yes.
He's literally walking like a pigeon and like swinging his head and like doing the whole thing just like a pigeon. So, I mean, maybe this character that comes on the scene is like a pigeon. Maybe they're kind of a snake
Yeah.
if they're a bad guy. Maybe they're a bunny, or maybe they're like a fawn, like a little doe. What are these? Yeah, that's really fun. Sometimes I'll do that,
Great.
but not all the time. It really it depends on the book. It depends on how many characters are in the book and if I start losing track. I've also
Mm.
It's really helpful when an author has an idea of who they're casting, like actual actor wise. Like if their book were
Mhm.
to be made into a movie or TV series, who would they cast for those roles? That does help. But if I don't have that from the author, which I usually don't, then I will make it up myself. So, yeah.
Kids are the same age as your kids. Yeah.
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 We watched
They're fun.
Mrs. Doubtfire, and every movie now that I play for them, they're like, "Is this as funny as Mrs. Doubtfire?" And I'm like, "No, actually." But I'm sorry I showed that to you so soon because nothing is
You
as
should
good
have
as that.
waited.
We were done.
Exactly. So when you're reading a book, do you go in cold and not have read the book, or do you read it first and then start?
It depends on the book. If I get a sports rom-com set in Canada, I can kind of guess what may be happening in this book, who the characters are. There's not gonna be any, I mean, not a lot of foreign language. Or if I come upon it and I'm voicing the main character, it's like I can suss that out. If I have a very complicated nonfiction or a very complicated like romantasy or I did another alien romance with a lot of words that I didn't have pronunciations provided by the author. So I did really need to go through and read the book and pick out all the foreign words, like foreign, not on this planet words, and have that pronunciation list sent to me. I've also paid book preppers to read the book and give me a book report, which works out great for everyone. Some books I really do cold read. And then other books, I either have a lot of prep from the author, or I paid for prep, or I have read them, but not many. And it really just depends on the book. Yeah, because I just don't have time. And I said I had
Yeah.
ADHD. So to have to
Yeah.
read a book twice?
Yeah, that would be sometimes, yeah, that would be hard, especially if it's not necessarily in a genre that you are interested in, or if it doesn't catch your attention right
Yeah.
away, probably be
Yeah. And
difficult.
I'm just a
Yeah.
slow reader with my eyeballs.
Like, now that I've talked to a few narrators and I know the ones that cold read and the ones that prep, I'm like, they're still both phenomenal performances. Like, I would not have
Yeah.
known either
There's
way.
no difference. And to me, or there can be no difference, I guess. To me, again, it's confidence. It's just going in and believing you know the story and you own the story. And if you have a sense of who the character is, let the character discover and you're going to be fine. I say, in case you ever want to start narrating. But yeah, some people really prefer that safety of knowing what's coming. And I totally understand that. I just don't have the time. So, yeah.
So, what skill surprised you most when you started that you had to learn in order to do audiobook narration?
Probably just the project management of it all, and also running my own business and being my own employee. Well, aside from the body doubles I hire to help keep me on track. That's tough for me. I'm a big people person. Like, I like to clock in for work and look at a face and be like, let's go, team. I don't like to be by myself. So that is hard. So am I mastering that skill? I mean, a little bit. I think I've adapted. I think that's probably a better word. It's like I adapt, my own strengths, or I adapt where I'm not feeling strong and confident. Another thing that really surprised me on the flip side of that. So actually being in the booth and reading the book and sitting my ass down and doing the work is lonely sometimes. But the thing that I was really surprised at was how valuable it would be to get to know authors and readers. That surprised me. And that felt like exciting because I know that I am good at that part because I am a people person in that way. And going to book events, that's what I did my second year of narrating. And that was just, I mean, the connections I made there helped my career so, so much. That's a big surprise. I mean, and then that might be romance specific, but I did also go to like non-romance narrator like workshops and retreats all over the country. And so there's like a narrator producer kind of more behind the scenes aspect. That's one world to get to know and to get to know who's who. And then it's the readers and authors and social media and book cons and that's like and the romance world. And that's where I have the most fun. So, yeah, what a great surprise though, that it's not just sitting and reading books. It's coming and talking to you and going to book events and traveling and getting to know narrators all over and authors all over.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's one thing I love about the community is because everybody's so welcoming and there are, some bad apples, but as a whole, everybody's like, "Oh, you need a boost up? Here, let me help you," or "Here, let me
Yeah.
support you. How can I help?" And I love that about this community.
Love that too. Yeah, when you enter it with this idea that there is enough space for everyone. And as a narrator, there can be, you have to work that muscle of rejection. Again, you audition with your peers for books that you want sometimes that you don't get. So,
Mhm.
but having that mentality that there's enough space for everyone, there's enough books for everyone, there's enough readers out there. This is a billion-dollar industry. We are like swimming in it. So there's,
Yes. I feel like we're in a renaissance era, honestly,
yeah.
again,
And
right
it just,
now.
I mean, we thought it was maybe happening 5 or 6 years ago, but it's like it continues to just swell and swell. Like with all the Netflix just blowing up, heated rivalry. I mean, Bridgerton, like pick one, just pick a thing, and it's happening. So that's exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. It's fun to be a little cog in the wheel of it all, for sure. So, what do you feel like new narrators underestimate about doing this job?
What do I think they underestimate? Honestly, they probably just underestimate themselves. Yeah. Cause I think like I might be I think anyone could, again, back to that, there's enough for everybody. There's enough space. There's enough room for every voice to be heard. Like there's just enough. And I think that if someone's wanting to become an audiobook narrator, the biggest hurdle for many to get over is just any self limiting beliefs. And so
Mhm.
I really don't like when people say things like the industry is saturated or no, mm-mm, we don't listen to that. We don't. Or any of that naysaying. I'm not about that. I'm about finding your authentic self, your authentic voice, and like burrowing down into that and not looking at anybody else and like developing that story inside of you that needs to be told. Because if you want to use your voice, like there's a reason, you know? So yeah, don't underestimate yourself. That's what I'd say. Me too.
So, when you are bringing to life romance versus maybe like you're reading the alien romance where there's more
Mhm.
suspense, which one do you kind of enjoy more or is more easily flowing for you, or is there one more difficult?
You know, um, it I did just do I narrated my second thriller and I have my third thriller book that I'm working on next month. So I could be a thriller narrator out here. soon. I think
And comparing like the romance, the swoony stuff to these more intense
yeah,
moments.
right now I am really enjoying I just enjoy romance. I haven't quite found my like I think because I'm new in the thriller category, I think I'm yet to discover kind of what I really love about performing those high suspense, high stakes moments. But romance is high suspense, high stakes, even if it's right before the first kiss. So I think they share a lot. But I do enjoy right now playing with a lot of vulnerability and like quietness in intimacy scenes and like intimate confessions. I think I really live for that shit. So that's, yeah, those are just my favorite moments in romance. And I'm sure I'll find something equivalent in suspense and thriller. That's like maybe a less obvious moment, but that's like the critical moment for the character. I really I like,
Yeah. So do you feel like doing the suspense, doing that pivot, do you feel intimidated at all by it, or is it just another challenge or another day at work?
I'm not intimidated. I'm excited. I like a new challenge. I like the variety. I think I'm really just trying to narrate the story more than the genre. Like just trying to tell the character's story and experience. And that I think that is what can help me cross genres. Yeah, I think that there's maybe some limiting beliefs that narrators have about doing different genres sometimes, especially if they are like just only romance narrators or if they've never narrated romance before. But I think that there's just a common thread through all storytelling that we can find. So too intimidating. But I'll just find this one here over here in this genre.
That's really cool that you get to try out and flex that creative muscle and trying something that maybe you don't do a lot of and bringing it a new
Yeah.
light and making it
Uh-huh. It's fun. I have one more new genre to me that I get to do this year. And I actually already did it. So there's graphic audio, which is like multicast. That's different. This is a graphic novel that they're making into an audiobook. I don't think I can say like what it is.
it's cool. It's probably different though compared to the other
Yes.
one.
So it's still like multicast with sound effects, but it goes with a graphic novel. So I just met with a director for 1 hour and did my lines for this graphic novel. And that was really fun.
Mhm.
It was just dialogue only. And so that was a stretch too. That was like something different, something that stretched me as a performer. And so that was cool. Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
fun. So when you're doing emotionally intense scenes, do you ever have to like take a step back or like take a moment when you're delivering those lines?
Yeah. The last one I remember was just a specific, like, I can't remember what book it was right now, but there was a character whose aunt was dying of breast cancer. And so I have like a similar personal story. And I was like, what's getting me today? So that one got me. I don't do a lot of dark romance. So I don't deal with like super dark subject matter. That was one that got me a little choked up. But often I seem to do okay. I seem to just keep moving through it. Yeah.
You just pause for a minute and then keep going if you do
Yeah.
get, or does it kind of derail you the
I
day?
pause and then I don't think I've ever had to like tap out for a whole day because of the book subject matter, but I've definitely had some tears. But yeah, I just give it a second. And then that's when you get to really step back and be like, I am a conduit for this story. Like it's coming like I'm telling it, but I can take a step aside and kind of be next to it as I tell it. And that is important to be able to do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking like when I'm reading something or I'm listening to an audiobook and I'm like bawling, I'm like, I did do that. Were they there with
That
me? And I'm like, I wonder if it's hard to like deliver those kinds of
yeah.
lines when they're just
Sometimes it can
so
be, but I think like when I don't know, for me, when I'm performing, it's like I am always just a little bit removed, one step removed because I'm focused on telling the story to you. I want to make you cry.
You do a good job in a good way. Do you picture the characters? Like, do you like sketch them out in your mind as you're delivering them, or are they just kind of a blank? You're just bringing the story together.
The only time where I really have to visually imagine something is when there's like actual physical movement happening. I feel like I'll kind of just, my eyes will get crossed if I don't try to at least imagine what's going on. But I don't really picture the characters actually. I have a hard time. Also, I always get tripped up on furnishings in a room
Mm.
every time. If there's a paragraph about, I walked in and the kitchen was on the left and the curtains were beige, and underneath the beige curtains was a wood oak table with like dark amber grain and a car headboard, blah, 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 blah. Like I, I don't know why it's so hard for me to narrate those paragraphs, but I'm like, what is happening? Am I trying to sell this house right now? It's really funny. Furnishings every time, and you'll notice them now in books. Hopefully, you won't hear me tripping, but I'm just like, okay. Especially when it's so specific, like a love seat, with an end table and a lavender candle and plants. I don't even know.
Yeah, I feel like that would get hard to like be technical and describing stuff and staying on track and then keeping like the
Yeah,
emotion in there.
maybe
I feel like I would get
maybe it's
lost.
because I am cold reading it, so I actually have no freaking clue what that room looks like, and so I'm just like, yeah, totally. And the door is, the bathroom's down the hall in a 3-bedroom house, 3-bed, 2-bath house. Like it's so, I don't know, it's hard.
So how do you protect your voice when you're recording, doing those longer times of
Uh,
recording? What do you do to keep your voice up?
well, you're gonna love this. I don't warm up. I just do coffee and a prayer, or I'll like talk to my sister for an hour before I get into the booth. But I really only record like 3 or 4 hours a day at my max, so I can
Mhm.
handle it. On days where I like have to get a project done and my throat is killing me, I use a wand vibrator on my throat like this. And I'm going to tell you,
Mhm.
ladies, it works great for that purpose. So there might be a vibrator in my booth right now, but I know I'm in a safe place to make this confession out into the internet. I know this is a safe
Yes.
place on Bookstagram, but and there is a
Yes.
study. I'll send you a link for a study done that it does help to heal the vocal cords, the vibrations.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you one extra layer. So I'm going to back her claim. I'm backing her claim right now. So there was a study done about cats. I'm a cat mom. You're a
Yeah,
cat mom. The cat, when they're injured, they will actually start purring. And the reason that they do that is because the purr actually helps them heal. So if you ever
fair.
have a cat that's been wounded or injured, you will hear them purring. And you're like, why are they purring? It's not a happy thing right now. It's actually because they're trying to heal themselves.
Listen, ladies, if you need to heal, you just need to purr. Okay.
There's another layer too. Love that. It's a true
Sitting in
thing.
my
Yeah,
booth just purring like a cat.
yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that. So, if you were to meet, I know you were talking about doing coaching for a new narrator, but if you were to meet an inspiring narrator, what would be your advice that you would give them when they're thinking or dipping their toes in to start doing this?
I mean, my advice is kind of what I said a little bit earlier. Like, don't underestimate yourself. Like, dig deep into what makes you authentic or like what excites you about books and audiobooks as a listener. And I'd also give the advice like, if they'll take it, if it would help them to network on social media with authors and listeners. I mean, that's such an incredible way to grow as a narrator. And also to really just think about the listener's experience and speak to that as you want to grow. Like, if you want to focus on growing in front of authors and readers, think about what they want out of their performances and make that a part of what you're offering, what you do, and put words to it. You know, listeners, they want to cry. They want to feel the emotions with you. So give an emotive performance. Like, get there, you know, and keep that in mind that it's okay. It's okay to go there. It's okay to go hard. I could go harder. I should go harder. But anyway, trying. So that's what I would tell them.
It's good advice because I feel like a lot of people hesitate or doubt themselves, like you
Yeah.
said, like they regulate themselves
Yeah.
or sense.
Yes, they do. Yes, and I think that that's part of reading books that's unlocking us because we are watching the journey of the character go from being all bound up in themselves to being loose and free and melted and healed and, awakened and all the things. That's what's satisfying for us. So, yeah, just also, I would probably, if they're going to narrate romance, I would just also tell them, like, your life will change. If you're a woman and you're narrating romance, your life will change. If you start reading romance, your life will change because all of a sudden you're putting your own desires and your own pleasure front and center. You don't know it, but that's your soul is like crying out for it. That's why you've read 500 romance audiobooks. Okay. You know that there's more for you. So get ready for your life to change and for more to come. So, yeah.
Great. I love that. That's true.
Mhm.
So I thought we could do a couple would you rathers really quick. Would you rather do 10 wildly different character voices or one subtle, emotionally complex character? One subtle.
The 10 characters,
Would you rather record in absolute silence or with like a faint background noise?
faint background noise.
Yeah. Would you rather narrate a poorly written but popular book or a brilliant book that's barely heard
Oh
of?
gosh. Gosh. This is hard. Poorly written but popular. Who am I fooling? I want to read the popular books.
You want to read the popular books?
Both. I've done both of those things. So, yeah.
Would you rather read a rom-com or a reverse harem?
Rom-com.
Rom-com? Okay. And then would you rather read a romantasy with a lot of world building or more of a contemporary small town romance?
Well, for the variety right now, I want some romantasy with a lot of world building. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. You ready for it? I like that. So my last question is,
'Cause I do.
I ask authors this, and I want to ask the narrators because it's a different perspective a lot of the time. What, in your opinion, makes a great story?
What, in my opinion, makes a great story? Any kind of twist. If I can get got with a twist, and I can't get got very often. So a nice gotcha moment. Maybe I should narrate some more thrillers because I think those might be coming up for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little surprise. Surprise me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I have totally fangirling right now because I just love listening to your books. Like I said, I have several that I are my go-tos, and I think you did a phenomenal job bringing those characters to life. The treat.
Thank you for hosting me.
Of course. And so if you are an audiobook girly or guy out there, definitely check out her work, especially the ones that I listed. They are phenomenal. And if you have a friend that's an audiobook person, please share this book with them so that they can find new narrators that they can binge listen to like I love to do because I'm just like you. I always have a book in my ear. If I'm not physically reading, I'm listening to a book because it's just I'd rather be in the company of fictional characters and living in a fantasy world for a while.
Agreed.
'Cause yes. So join me next time as we get another look behind the book and happy reading, everybody.